that she sent, yeah, I clicked it to download it, and I got only the first page, and then it got, oops, can't download beyond the first page. I don't know if it was no, it couldn't be just my computer, because you had it too. Yeah, okay, well, we get hard copies. So we're not going to have a quorum again, Madam Chair.
I think we had it last time.
I think we did.
Yeah, last time we had.
I only recall one time we did not have quorum actually.
Well, we're waiting on Rodney. Josh is usually here after 6.
There
and
are,
Miguel.
right, there's 9
and
seats.
Adriana.
So we need 5. Isn't that correct?
No, I thought we needed 6.
Are there,
There were 6 of us last time.
6 of 11, yes, that's right. Right, you need 6 because there are 11 seats.
We can't approve the minutes because I wasn't here last time, so we don't have enough to approve. But we can take, if we get 6, we can take action on anything.
So, I don't know if you wanted to start your project updates while we're waiting.
I would say probably, because given that I can give sort of updates on D and E, I think F is important to wait for others come. Yeah, sure. Why don't we go ahead and do that then?
Okay.
Just arrive if they can arrive. Okay? Okay.
Do you have another agenda?
Oh, wait, here it is.
Oh, never mind.
Thank you.
That package is bigger. Is the financials included in that package, or?
Yes. It
Oh,
is.
okay, all right,
Yes,
because
it
I
is.
also had
Okay.
my own set here.
Okay, all right, okay. So I'll go ahead and give the update. Just again, to orient everyone on which building is which. Building A at 53rd and San Pablo is the community building. Building B, which is the one along San Pablo, is the administration building. Building C is the K-8 school, which is in the middle of the site. Building D is the high school, which is the corner of 47th and San Pablo. And Building E is the gym and pool. So, first order of business is to give an update of the gym completion. So as been reported to this group probably several times over the last 2 or 3 meetings, we had an unforeseen roof structure reconstruction. We pulled the roofing off of the gym. We found out that the roof structure for the entire gym was not built for the original plans. That it was built with plywood instead of lumber. Big problem. So we had to reconstruct the do a seismic upgrade of that whole gym roof, which took about 7 weeks to do. Because of that, it delayed all the interior work to be done because you have to have a roof over the building before you can finish the interior work. In order to get the gym ready for the first week in school, the city council, we took to the city council. Again, Saturday work is not permitted. Noisy work is not permitted on Saturdays in Emeryville unless approved by the city council in advance. So we put forth the Saturday work plan on the 27th of October, which is to work on Saturdays in November and December. And to work on, so you can do work, we can't do noisy work. So as to have a waiver of the noise ordinance for those Saturdays. So we could actually make construction noise on those Saturdays. So they approved that. The only condition was that the Saturdays after the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, no exterior work would take place. We had a successful work plan. The first day we had some hiccups with some truck beepers that had to be turned off. We were in contact with a couple of the neighbors every Saturday just to check in and see what they felt the level was. In general, it was successful. It was successful. We checked in. Everyone was happy. All the neighbors were happy with how things went. We were able to work on those Saturdays and pick up time. The result is all the building work is complete. All the exterior walls, all the interior spaces are complete. We had a tour with the coaches and the athletic director on the 23rd of December to show them the new gym, mostly the new gym floor and bleachers and all that. At that time, though, it was pouring rain outside. The sidewalk work had planned to be done the week of start on the 21st of December. It'd take about 6 or 7 work days to complete, but it rained all that week. The reason why the sidewalk work went late is because there's a sequence of events You have to finish the building, electrical and water infrastructure before you can make the connections in the street. You have to finish those connections before you can do the sidewalk work, because the work goes right under the sidewalk to the building. So the roof delayed, the interior work delayed. So we had planned on doing the sidewalk work the last week or two of this project. Rained all that week. We made some progress last week. We had 3 work days, but we have 3 days of work remaining. Problem is, it's rained every day this week. It's forecast to rain every day next week. So obviously everyone's nervous. We were looking forward to get the kids into practice and have games this week, the first week in school. So what we're doing, we devised this morning a plan to build a tent structure over the sidewalk so we can actually do gravel, rebar, formwork, and concrete in the rain. I've never done this, but we're going to do this. We're going to build a big tarp structure over the sidewalk and pour concrete inside this tent so that we can get it done by the end of next week and not have to wait for the rain to abate. Because we really need, the problem is you need to have 3 or 4 days of clear weather. And with El Nino, it's not we may not have that, too much. And this is the only site work that we're doing during the winter because the schedule's planned to do all that work, start the remaining work in the spring. So that's our current plan. So we talked to the athletic director today and said, mid-January you should plan on being able to have games and practices in the gym.
That
Yes.
plywood, John, that plywood error, does it have nothing to do with the other mistake about the roof, which was the metal, was it supposed to be steel and it turned out that it was just painted?
I'm not familiar with that issue.
Another
Yeah.
delay, I might spark someone.
I think it was when you uncovered like asbestos or something.
Oh, that was
on
that was lead paint on the
the- Oh,
beams.
lead paint, okay.
Separate issues, and that was about 7 days. That impacted us a small amount. But the roof structure, the framing of the roof, in 1960, I think, when they built that building, the plans showed to have what's called blocking, which is when you have beams go across, and then between the beams, it's blocked with lumber. If you've ever been in a basement, look up, you'll see little kind of cross pieces between the joists. The construction drawings that the original building was built from called for that to be lumber. Instead, they did the blocking with plywood. So there's some kind of, they took a shortcut to save costs. I have no idea why. This was done 50 years ago. We don't know why. When we pulled the roof up, we found all the blocking was plywood. So it was seismically unsafe. Remember that part of this project for the gym is a FEMA-funded upgrade, seismic upgrade of the gym. FEMA's given us $800,000 to make sure that complies with current structural code, current seismic codes. So because of that, we had to basically reconstruct that roof. What we did is, instead of replacing the blocking, replaced all the plywood sheeting on top of the roof and actually did metal strapping, which actually creates a stiff diaphragm, which means it was the least expensive and fastest way to do this without basically rebuilding, reframing the roof. So by the time we went through the Division of State Architect to get that approved, because that's got to go through them and do the work, it was almost about 2 months that we had to, they were taking the roof off to re-roof it so they could do the interior. They took the roof off and boom, there was this problem. So that's the reason why the gym, which was supposed to be done in October, is late, is because of that primary. We had a lead paint issue, it was only a few days, is that we had to rebuild and have the Division of State Architect approve that structural plan and rebuild that roof. And that's how we did it. That was the main thing. We had to stop all the interior work until we had that done.
Who covers the penalty there? Who gets beaten up for doing a bad thing?
Well, the bad thing was done by the original contractor 50 years ago,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah. So who covers the cost?
That's why we have contingency in the
Oh,
project
yeah,
budget.
yeah.
It's exactly why we have
It's
contingency.
like shear walling, to strengthen the structure.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So that's good, that's a
Yeah.
good discovery.
Yeah, I mean, it was, just because that, it's good to discover it, because the good news is we fixed it.
Good.
And it was something that was covered we didn't see until we took the roof off, and then it was not built per the plans. We had assumed what the original plan showed, but it's a concern that those were not followed at that time, but that's what we had to fix.
This tent that you're working under, rain doesn't only come down.
Well, what you need to do is you can have a little bit of rain when you pour concrete, but the thing is, the soil's got to kind of dry out, and to have, we need to drain. The biggest problem is all we have left to do is put down what's called base rock, big heavy gravel,
Yeah.
do formwork, which is the wood that concrete formwork, and then pour the concrete. We only have about 3 or 4 days of work to do. But you have to have 3 or 4 days of clear weather in a row to do that. And it's just not gonna happen. I mean, this week or next week is not gonna happen. It may happen the week after, but if it doesn't, you know, it could just be, you know, kicking down the road. We don't wanna do that. So we put together a plan to build, frame up some wood and build a big tent structure and go ahead and do that concrete work so we can get the kids in the gym. But, you know, the wet winter is gonna be, you know, we're having our monthly schedule meeting on Tuesday, and you know, we need to be cognizant of an El Nino winter and what that could do. The good news is we don't have any site work taking place after this sidewalk support. That's the stuff that really gets disrupted by rainy weather. What we have though is we have really the only real issue is building A and the high school, building D, the high school, and building A, the M. Those buildings are closed in now, so the exterior walls are up. We have some protection at D, and I'll get to that in a minute. And so those, we can work inside those buildings. We don't have to worry about the weather. All the windows are up, the stucco's done, those are all done.
Right.
Building B, the admin building is all framed, but that hasn't been, that exterior roofing and stucco have not been put on that yet. That's kind of the next, we've just started that work. So that could be delayed, but that could be delayed with weather. But building B is not a critical path building. That we only have about 3 months to finish on that building. So if that gets delayed even 3 months, we'll still finish in the summer. It won't be an issue. The concern though is the K-8 school, because that's the last building. It's always been the last building that will finish. Already because of the state architect's review comments, that was supposed to finish in June. Right now we're scheduled to finish that in July, which is still fine in terms of moving school in. But if we have a lot of weather delays, that could push that out. So everyone's kind of worried about that. Now, a couple of good things about that is that we're actually ahead of schedule on our framing of doing the walls, because you can do that work in the rain actually. You know, they can do work kind of within 10 feet of the outside walls, you know, while it's kind of raining. So they're out there today doing framing, as long as it's very wet, but they can still do framing. So you can kind of, we don't have, a rainy day doesn't really disrupt that building too much. It does in general. Like when we get to where we're putting exterior walls up, they can't do that work in the rain. They can't do stucco work in the rain. They can't do waterproofing. So there's some things. So we need to watch very closely during the next 3 months what happens with the weather and that building. So it's something that everyone's certainly concerned about to make sure that we don't lose any more time on that building.
Remember when we talked about nothing but the drought?
Yes, I know. In fact, it's funny because I've had my car for 3 years and I realized I didn't really fully know how to use the windshield wipers. True story. I'm trying to figure out the fast speed and all that. I never knew how to do it. But that shows you how long it's been since it rained. Anyway, so I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What happens to wood when it gets wet?
Framing lumber is actually okay, believe it or not, because it's kiln dried. There are certain areas where you don't want to have cooling, but that wood dries out really fast. We have our testing lab will do testing and make sure it's dried out. But wood has water in it already. Wood framing has water in it. You know, when you do when you do cut lumber, it's wet, it's got water in it. That's fine. What you can't do is sheetrock. That's what you can't do because you get mold in that. So you can't do any sheetrock work until you've got the building closed, what we call closed in or dried in. So we can still frame, we can put ductwork in, we can put conduit in for wiring, you can even pull wire, you can't connect it. There's a lot of work you can do in that environment, but the main thing is you can't do the sheetrock work. And you got to do sheetrock to do finishes and closing walls and all that kind of stuff. So that's the main thing you can't start. But again, the gym sheetrock is done. Actually, the sheetrock is done in the high school and the gym. In fact, it's done in building A2. So 3 of our 5 buildings where all exterior walls are in, the sheetrock is done, and so we don't have to worry about that. So those buildings we're just going to keep on going, and we don't have to worry about that. I do want to talk about the high school completion. So as everyone I think knows, the high school was originally intended to open actually this week. We had major issues with our site utilities and East Bay Mud primarily, so we had to put on hold the completion of the structure that connects building C and D that has the elevator and the stair. We proceeded with the rest of the building work, but couldn't start that work. That work finally is going to start next week. Finally, after all these months. We discovered our issues back in February. East Bay Mud couldn't come out to do the utility work until August. We went ahead with building the buildings, even though we did it backwards, the way it wasn't supposed to, reverse what we were supposed to do. That work finally starts. We're now completion scheduled for the end of April, weather permitting again. So now what we've done though is that there's some building work that we've actually intentionally held off on, and I'll explain why. There are two exterior walls where the deck meets the building, there are two exterior walls. Structurally, those walls have to bear upon the deck. And so we can't build those walls until the deck goes in, then we can build the walls. That's why if you drive by, you'll see that those two walls are tarped off. There's an inner layer tarp and an outer layer tarp so that it's dry, but you'll see big blue tarps on those walls because we have to build the deck, then we can build those walls.
And the elevator was the first part, the elevator
Yeah,
was the main
that deck
problem, right?
includes the elevator, which we have to have for ADA, and the stair for ADA, so we can't access the building without those two elements. So those are remaining. Once we build the deck, then we build those walls and we'll finish that and we'll close it. There are other interior elements that even though we could have put them in, we've decided not to. The ceilings, and that's because the ceiling contractor, we're actually saving money by not putting ceilings in because they're going to put all the ceilings in for the other buildings at the same time. So there's a remobilization that was in the project that we're going to get a credit for about probably $15,000 for not remobilizing. So we'll do those ceilings when they do the ceiling work in the K-8 school. Also, there's two elements that since we haven't conditioned the building, so the building is not conditioned, we don't have the heat, and we've got, everything's in, but we haven't turned on the heat. We wouldn't want to turn the heat on because no one's in the building, and also those two walls aren't in yet. So we haven't put the flooring in because flooring, the linoleum flooring, which is most of the flooring is, when it's cold, when it's 30 or 40 degrees, the seams can bust and it can, because of the way it expands and contracts. So we haven't put the flooring in. And also we haven't put in the wood doors and casework for the same reason. You want to put wood in. If it's cold and moist, you get contraction, expansion that can crack and damage the wood.
What's under the linoleum, cement?
Yeah. So if you walk in, you'll see that everything's painted, the door frames are in, there's no doors. There's no casework like these cabinets, and there's no ceilings because we're saving money by not putting those in. So there's reasons why we haven't done that. We decided not to in order to protect the work and in order to save some dollars.
And let me just add, I have been telling everyone for a couple months that the high school building was essentially done, going to be finished, except for the elevator, which was true. Swinnerton, I think, made the right decision to, when we realized that, to say, well, wait a minute, let's not continue with one or two of these things because we could save some money if we can't do the elevator and deck now anyway.
Right.
So
Right.
I think there's at least one person out there in the community who's going to make a big deal of this and act like I've lied about it. But the truth was the elevator held us up, and then Swinnerton very, I think appropriately, decided, well, wait a minute, we know we're going to be delayed anyway. Let's rethink our timing. So,
And Turner also, we said, it doesn't make sense. We don't. They were. I was concerned about remobilization and trying to save some dollars. They all were concerned about, when it's 45 and more damp in there, and you're not firing heat through there like you would this time of year, that you could have damage to the wood. So that's why we didn't put those things in.
Once the place is open, do they turn the heat off on weekends? Or?
Well, I mean, the gym is conditioned now. The gym, the heat, that's all working. But the high school, there's no one in there, so why would we? It would cost us thousands of dollars to heat a building that no one's using. It just didn't make sense. It was a good use of bond dollars to do that. A good use of the district's money, I should say, to do that. So since we're not going to be done till April now anyway, we're going to wait until we get closer to that. Putting down the flooring and ceilings takes about 2 weeks or so to do all that work. It's not, so we'll do that work probably in the month of April.
I guess what I'm asking is whether the same principle holds during long vacations after things get going.
It does. I mean, that's why when you have buildings, you keep the thermostat down to maybe 55 and don't turn it off altogether because of that. You do, but you have damage to those things. There's concerns because of that work is under warranty, and if it's damaged later because the owner turns the heat off, but they don't want to. They don't want to be at risk of they don't want to be at risk for having there be damage right now, and it's got to be replaced by warranty and within the 2-year warranty period.
Thank you.
I wanted to give a little snapshot of change orders. Like on any project, we have contingency budgeted for change orders on this job like we do any other job. Overall, when the board and council approved budget had about 7% of the total construction cost for change orders. That's what was budgeted. Some of that is in Turner's contract for certain types of change order, for certain types of items. Some is strictly an owner contingency. But I wanted to talk to a little snapshot because we're almost almost 75% done. We're actually about 70% done with the project now. And really, most of the change orders we kind of know about now. There'll be a few more, but really, we're pretty much done with that. But I wanted to have a snapshot of what our expectations would be on this project. Our expectations on industry standard percentages, and we have a great deal of data on this on projects. When we are hired by school districts to manage projects, we'll put together contingency budgets based on what type of project it is. And so I wanted to kind of show how we're doing against other similar projects, because it turns out we're actually doing quite well. And I also want to point that out. So these are change orders as a percent of construction costs. So there's a lot of data out there about, like, for similar new construction, renovation, et cetera, what that is. So on this type of project, a $60 million school that's mostly new, but some existing construction, we would see about 2.5% of construction in unforeseen conditions. Bad soil, in the gym, things like the roof that we have to reconstruct, those sorts of things. On new construction, we would see about 2%. We bumped up to 2.5 because of that gym reconstruction. That's what we'd expect to see. Permit agency requirements, Division of State Architect changing things during the DSA approval, or inspectors changing things, or the city of Emeryville changing things once we are doing street work. We've had all that kind of stuff. You'd see about 1% of construction costs, those sorts of change orders. Design errors and omissions. This is when you have the architect and engineer's drawings that have things that aren't thought out or are missing or things like that. 1 to 2%, 2% on the high
Looks
side.
pretty good.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Impressive, huh?
And then contractor's contingency, the kind of things use the contractor contingency. These are called buyout errors, where the subcontractor forgets something. Turner can use that contingency for those items as per the contract. We would see about 1% of those things. So these are using our data. This is the standard. And you'll see those things add up to 6.5%. 7% we had on this project was about right. It doesn't leave a lot of room for what we call owner changes, like doing the pool or things like that, things you want to upgrade. But it should cover all of these sorts of things that we just talked about here. Here's where we stand as of today on ECCL. We have 2.6% unforeseen conditions, a little higher than we would have expected, but just about right. Permit agency requirements, about 0.7%, a little less than we would expect, and then we're done with that now. We're all complete with that. You know, the fire inspector may say add a alarm or something, but it's pretty minimal at this point. Design errors and omissions were at 1.2%, and again, we're pretty much done with that because we've kind of ferreted all those things out. And then contractor's contingency, only 0.2%. So we've used very little of that Turner contingency for these kinds of things, which has been really a benefit to the project. What it says is we have a very good contractor. We have a good architect and engineering team. We have not had permanent agency things that we might have on a job like this, which, you know, this includes, by the way, the East Bay mud issue, believe it or not. Even with that, we're still under what you might expect.
And all the soils issues.
Yeah, we didn't have that many soils issues.
Not as much as we thought.
You had the toxics and.
Well, but we had budgeted for that, so we didn't have much change in price. We could have had, it could have been really significantly worse than, but it kind of went as expected, I guess you could say. But anyway, so we're doing very good, I think. You know, we're doing, we will not, I think, at the end of the job, we will not hit what we expect for these items. Now, the district and city have made scope changes, such as the pool renovation work, upgrades to information technology, audiovisual, security. But those are the good kind of change orders because you're getting something for that. You're getting
those changes in this 4.7%?
I'm sorry, what?
Are those changes in the 4.7%?
What 4.7%?
That totals up to 4.7%.
Oh no, those are not.
And-
Look, our 4.7 here is comparable to the 6.5 above.
Right.
These there's no industry standard for those for owner changes because who knows what they might be.
Yeah.
But the point I want to make is that the additional dollars being spent on the project aren't going to things that aren't really valuable to the district. These things are things that people, when the job is done, people don't really care about these things. If we're putting extra dollars in the project, it's to do the pool, it's to do security, audiovisual upgrades, new furniture in classrooms, things like that, because we are doing some of those things. But those are the things what I call good change orders because the owner's making I would like to make this change. You're not paying money for things that you really don't want to spend money on. Okay. So then just a quick construction update here. Again, the gym, locker rooms, offices, everything inside the gym that's not related to the pool is complete. The gym sidewalk was delayed due to the rain. I spoke about that earlier. Pool work's about halfway done. So the pool has all been excavated and filled in. All the pool equipment is in. And so now we've got about 2 more months of pool work to done to finish that. The high school interior work, everything is complete, as I mentioned, except for ceilings, flooring, doors, and wood casework. The high school elevator stair deck starts next week, finally. The community building, the exterior walls are complete, the interior walls are complete, and all the mechanical component are complete. So the building A is now, we're just about ready to paint. And in that building, we'll close it in, we'll do our flooring at that. So that building will be done probably in about, probably in March. The admin building, wood framing is complete, so all of our structural framing is now done. The roofing and exterior walls are starting now. Mechanical, electrical, plumbing is in progress. And then building C, all the structural work is complete, all the steel and concrete is done. We're now doing lots of framing, all the exterior walls, all the scaffolding is up. They're doing all the metal framing that you'll see if you drive by. You can see all that silver metal framing that's going on in there. And then we have mechanical, electrical, plumbing in progress. And again, those things, that bottom item, you can do quite a bit of that work on rainy days. You can do, because you're underneath the slab, even though it's raining outside, you're kind of undercover, you can put ductwork in, you can put conduit in, so they're kind of doing as much. We won't, although that building can be impacted by rain, the impacts are less than with sidewalk work. Anything on the dirt, that's where you really get hurt when on a rainy day. So this is building A. This is about a couple weeks. You'll see it was last week when it was sunny. But this is all the painting's done. We still got some film up there from the painting. They've now taken that down. Inside, you can see that our sheetrock is complete, and that's all mudded and taped, so it's ready for primer. All the ductwork is up in the ceiling. It's got to be connected to the registers when we put the ceiling in. You see those wires hanging down. Those are for the suspended ceiling to hold that structure up. All the windows are done in that building. This is inside this is the entry to the building, so you'll see that is pretty much complete on the outside. There's glass, that's again, the windows are masked off, but that's going to come up pretty soon. This is inside building B, the administration. The main grand staircase is up. One of the best spaces in this building is there's a 2-story lobby in that building, which is the main entry to the city and district offices, but it's really nice with a grand staircase. It's all glass, you'll see from San Pablo. And it's also one of the areas where we're going to have one of the art pieces will be in that, up either a sculpture or a mural in that room.
I don't remember, John, do we have any solar?
No, it's what we call solar ready. So what we have pathways, wire pathways. We have conduit to the roofs that go back to the panels, so that if we want to put solar panels in, you could put them in. You could pull cable to the panel and put them in. So it's called
Cheaper.
It's called PV ready or solar ready.
When are we going to go out to bid for a power purchase agreement contract on that?
I'm not aware of a plan to do that, but it can certainly be done. It's done
So
all
I just
the
wanted
time.
to suggest that while we have you on board, it's efficient while we have a professional who knows the building on board, rather than waiting until the building is done, to go out and get a power purchase agreement with the solar company. The Congress just passed the solar tax credits, so there's tax benefits to pay the solar provider. They would own and maintain and be responsible for the solar on our roof. We researched this extensively, and the original plan was to do exactly what you're talking about, to plumb it all, and right about now to go out to bid.
Okay.
So if we want to reduce our operating costs, or better yet, to just stabilize them, now is a very good time to dust off all those. We have all that material.
Okay, yeah, we do this on projects quite often, actually,
Yeah.
where you do exactly that. You enter, and it's kind of what you do in your home. You can do the same thing. You go to a provider, they will install the system. There's different flavors of this. You can own the system, you can lease the system, they can own the system. There's all different ways to do this. I would agree that if you're going to do it before the project's completed, like you probably do this in the summer, now would be a good time to procure that, because you know, the roofs are all kind of done almost, building season not done. But that would be probably the time to do that. But I've not to date heard that that's what the plan
So
is.
That's what we were talking about a couple of years ago. We had a couple of studies that came to the board, and where we explained to the board how power purchasing. The advantage is, if you have a power purchase agreement, our maintenance staff doesn't have to figure out how to operate it. If somebody goes up on the roof and damages it, it's not our problem. It's somebody else's solar, they've got their own insurance. School districts all over the state do this. And it's a way to have a private entity basically get the tax benefits. So it's a way to fund this without it coming out of a penny of the taxpayers. And the benefit to the taxpayers is that at the very least, we would know what our utilities costs, they'd be set for the next 30 years.
Yeah,
And
it's
at best, they'd be
done.
lower for the next 30
We're
years.
I'm doing it right now. We're doing it right now on projects for Alameda County, for San Francisco Unified School District, City of El Cerrito. It's very commonly done.
So because you're
Yeah.
used to do it,
Yeah.
because it makes sense for us to do it now while you're still on the job. If we wait until after the job's done, we lose both your experience and your knowledge of the building, so now's the time to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Well, we can certainly get some folks in here to talk to. We have lots of
Should we
resources.
go ahead and do that?
Yeah, sure.
I appreciate you bringing it up. Thank you.
Message to
That's
the
why I'm
board.
on the committee.
Yeah, I
Well,
appreciate it.
in fact, actually, to be honest with you, this is the only project that I've been involved with in the last 5 years that did not have didn't still have solar panels. That's kind of a standard now.
So, yeah, we had planned to do it.
Okay. No,
Dust off
that's a good way to do it. A
Dust
lot of
off
places
all
do
the
that.
reports to the board are all there from a couple of years ago.
I'll put that on our agenda and we'll talk
Okay.
about that.
Just knock it out.
And this would be some, a vendor that would come in after Turner's done. We would probably, you can kind of do it anytime, but the summer's a
But
perfect
you
time to
need to
do
do the
it.
vendor selection now.
Right.
And it needs to be done before the end of this calendar year so that they get all the tax credits. Because next year, the amount of tax credits steps down.
Right, it will set, over time it's stepping down. That's an interesting topic, but yeah.
Thank you, Josh.
Okay, moving, building B, so you can see it's all framed now, the plywood sheathings that you can kind of see, we've got windows going in and we've got water, that black around the windows is waterproofing. So that exterior wall work is now starting. Inside the building, all the walls are framed, you can see there's ductwork up there, it's kind of hard to see this picture, the ductwork has gone in. And this is again, the wood frame building, this is the first floor, where that's taking place. Exterior, you can see now we've got windows in, and that's that black, the building paper is the waterproofing, part of the waterproofing membrane for the building. So we're getting ready to start doing the exterior walls for this building. Building D, if you've driven by, you can see the outside walls are done. There are sunshades. Another one thing I would point out, you see the plywood, those are where the operable windows are. That was another thing where we're going to save some money by having them put those in at the same time they put the other ones in, rather than having them come out to do a special job for this. But overall, we're saving about $25,000 by saving some of this work for when we have the trades to come back in. Because the plan again has been to do it early, but if we don't need to, we might as well save it. Inside, you can see this is a kind of a dark picture, but that's the interior walls painted. That's an accent color, the green right there. So ceiling's got to go in, doors have to go in, and flooring. Those are the kind of the main things, and those things go in pretty quickly. So we'll do that work when we're finishing up the elevator, stair, deck work. This is inside the library, so that's looking out at San Pablo sidewalk. So that's the library windows. This is actually those braces are now painted. This is also from a week or two ago. The K-8 school, you can see the metal framing. Exterior walls are being framed now. That's the scaffolding up there to build those walls. That work is, when it's raining, they don't want to be up there on scaffolding, putting framing in, so that kind of depends on the weather. But inside the building, they're doing a lot of the framing. They were out there today doing framing when it was raining. And you can see a lot of that framing has gone in place now. So what will happen next is you'll start, once weather permitting, there'll be that the yellow board, what they call dense glass sheathing, will go up on the outside of that building. Then the gym. So the gym is done. So there's our sparkling new gym with a brand new floor.
Nice.
That was finished, the final coat went on that December 22nd. There's, you can see the striping there. That's, you know, Emery Spartan blue. We had a lot of debate about how to get the right blue color, but that is as close as we can come to the right blue color. You see the at the end zone it says Spartans, and then also the City of Emeryville logo there. So it's again joint venture between the city and the district. So we have those logos on the floor. Floor is great. It's a beautiful floor actually.
What is the floor made of?
It's wood. It's a wood sports floor. The Gibbs. It's specific for volleyball, basketball, interior sports. It's not sprung. It's not sprung, but it's got a. It's about this thick. It's got a sandwich construction of some foam, some other kind of wood sheathing. It's a composite sort of system that goes down. It's about 2 inches thick.
Another tangential question. You mentioned mold before. We have a number of multiple unit residential places in Emeryville that have had serious mold
Yes, I
problems.
know. I've seen them. I've seen the remediation underway.
Yeah, well, on the 64th and Christie, there's a building where people have been placed somewhere else, the residents. I don't know where they went, but there's just repair going on for more than a year.
Yeah.
But how do you prevent roll? What are they doing wrong?
Well, yeah,
I don't
well,
know.
that's an interesting topic because, for one thing, you know, you got to maintain properties properly. That's the main thing. We have, I mean, we have largely new construction here that you do occasionally you'll see new construction being rebuilt, and it's rare, but that does happen.
That's
You'll
the
see some of
64th
those.
and
Right,
Christie.
right.
Yeah.
What's more common is you'll see older structures, like there's a kind of a condominium here on Doyle that had been just all the outside walls were redone. You see older buildings, you'll see that a little more common. You'll see that, but by large measure, those housing projects are condominium projects, and they're just because of the legal precedent. It's relatively easy for homeowners associations to get insurance money to fix those deficiencies. So that's why you see a lot of that kind of work. You don't see it in institutional projects that much. You just don't see it being pursued as much. Again, good maintenance is what avoids guards against that. And so as long as ECCL is maintained properly, we wouldn't expect to see too much of that.
What would be a negative option, a possibility, letting a leak exist and continue? How do you get mold in an institutional building?
You know, I do want to point out something on this topic, is we actually brought in a highly regarded waterproofing consultant, ABBAE, to come in and do a peer review, a third-party peer review of the construction documents. And we did this mostly last summer, and we did quite a comprehensive review of that and came up with a host of recommendations to actually make us even more watertight, moisture resistant. We've done quite a few changes, which actually fall into that category of errors and omissions, even though they're not really. That's what category I put them in. Where we actually we changed the membrane under the roof deck. We changed a number of the waterproofing details to have an extra measure of kind of mitigation of potential leaks and things like that. So I actually went through and did it. That's another kind of topic I could talk about maybe at one of our future meetings. But we actually went through and hired ABBAE to come in and do a third-party review. And we did a bunch of extra measures, just good use of bond dollars to guard against the sorts of things you're talking about.
The other aspect of it is we're very lucky that we're building this into an El Nino, because it's going to be finished just in time to get the best water test it could possibly get.
That's true. That's true.
And that water test will be right at the beginning of the contractor's warranty. So
Wow.
the contractor will be required to fix anything, and it's not uncommon for buildings that were built during the drought for them not to catch the problems until after
Right,
the
that's
warranty.
that is true.
Terrific.
So
We'll see a lot of buildings that were built
we hit it right there.
in the last 2-3 years that now that's raining are going to have problems after the warranty period. Good point. So gym floor, there are the bleachers. It actually spells out ECCL in the light. You can't see it because we've got them staggered up. But when they're all closed, it says ECCL in 2 banks.
Nice.
It's kind of nice. But there again is the blue, so the beige and the black is the shadow. It says ECCL. You can kind of see it there. Here are our locker rooms. One is men's, one is women's. I don't know which color scheme is which, I can't recall.
Who picked that orange?
That would be our architects picked orange. Orange is a very popular color these days, by the way. So those are now complete, so we're just waiting for to get our sidewalk done and we can use them. So we're now in the time of the project, we're shifting gears into move-in, maintenance, and operations. A lot of the work we're really doing, other than the construction work, is this. The furniture scope is complete. Purchasing is in progress. We've already purchased everything in the gym. Some of that has been delivered. The fitness equipment, I think, goes in about the end of this month. So we've got some in progress. Security, audiovisual, data, telecom scope is confirmed, is in progress. The infrastructure is in progress in the buildings, and we're just about to start procuring those items. These are things like the video screens in the classrooms, security cameras, all that sort of stuff. We're going to be doing this month. We're going to be issuing an RFP for the mover to move folks from Annie Yates into the school, from Santa Fe into the high school, and from Annie Yates into the K-8 school. So we'll have our mover set up in next month, so we can start planning those moves. Building systems commissioning, what's called commissioning and training. This is where you do a host of tests to make sure that the heating, ventilation, plumbing systems are all working properly, that your energy control, energy management system's working, all that. We have our first training session is tomorrow for the gym to show the facilities folks how to maintain the new equipment that's in there. We have a regular programming. By programming, I mean what programs of work are going to be in place. So the city and district have a joint programming meeting, I think, once a month to talk about how the gym is scheduled, how the community rooms are scheduled, all that kind of stuff, because we're scheduling activities in the gym right now. So we have putting calendars and schedules together for how we do things. A couple of things already coming up. In April, there's going to be a triathlon that's going to use the pool. This summer, the city's community recreation group is going to use some of the rooms in the high school for some classes. So we're starting to program how the city and district jointly use the ECCL. And so we have a monthly meeting to start putting those calendars and start planning for that for all the people who manage activities in the building.
Where did secondhand desks come in? You know, the ones we get from other schools used?
What are we going to do with our desks that are secondhand?
I'm trying to see where it would fit. No, the desks that we get, well, whatever furniture we get from schools that used them before. I know we're gonna have some secondhand stuff.
Oh, no, we're not.
We're not gonna have any second
No,
hand
we're
stuff.
not, well, we're trying to not do that. And certainly they're gonna be, if there are other schools that need that, then they would be the better spot where that kind of furniture should land. Because in our new facility, we wanna try to do this right because we get one chance, and that's our goal. So we're not looking at taking on any secondhand material right now.
I thought at one point we were talking
Well,
about
it was
that.
discussed at one
Well, let me hit this topic with you. At one point, and this is particularly true when I think Roy Miller was here probably, that the funding picture on the horizon was not good. So there are many things that were pulled back and drawn down in the plans. One of those things, they went as far as less internet ports in the rooms and other things that were, let's keep it on the cheap, kind of. No offense to Roy, but it was the situation at the moment, right? How do we cut costs or keep costs really tight? So I'm not surprised to hear that. Right now, though, we're doing so well, as Mr. Baker showed, particularly on the contingency and other budgets, that although we went into this project, probably $5 million over budget because of the rising construction costs just before it finally started. That, and thanks to the voters approving, the bond measure and us being able to, with the increased assessed value in Emeryville, and just drawing another $4.8 million against that in the last couple weeks, we're in pretty good shape, I think, right now. So we're not looking to do. Right now, the mindset is let's do it right. Let's keep watching our pennies, but let's do it right because we get one chance. So that same mindset I think the city has.
What about the piggybacking you were talking about as far as buying the
Yes.
furniture with
Now, that's
the larger
still the
schools? That's
case.
still the case?
Yeah, because we want to save money, we don't want to just throw money.
No,
Yeah,
the point is that I think that the superintendent's making is that things like we were gonna reuse existing furniture,
Mhm.
there's we could talk about 21st century learning, but there's current thinking and is that, there's some new furniture that actually is better for learning, we're able to do that. For the piggyback contract, I think about roughly $1 million of the furniture, which is about half of the furniture is being procured, or half of the FF&E, because the FF&E also includes audiovisual equipment and things like that. But roughly half of the total $2 million of FF&E, furniture, fixtures, equipment, is being bought via piggyback contract. So really most of the furniture, chairs, tables, desks, is being purchased through piggyback contracts. That we're procuring probably about half of it with that.
So-
What's a piggyback?
I'm sorry. A piggyback contract is where, if you're a school district in California, what you can do is you can purchase FF&E, furniture, fixtures, and equipment, that other districts have bid out. So if they've gone through a competitive bidding process, like LA Unified has
That's a good
gone
example,
through they've bought $1 billion worth of furniture.
And they have.
And they have.
Wow.
They'll have, so the prices for those specific chairs and tables, you can use those prices. What's even better about it is you can pick out what you want. You can't, you can't pick out, in most public procurement, you can't just pick out, I want to have that chair, it's got to be or equal, you've got to bid it out publicly. If someone's got a chair that's equivalent to that, they've got to have a chance. When you piggyback, so these big districts have already done this for us.
Where is the actual furniture?
Well, we purchased it through those vendors, so
And it's new.
And
Right,
it's
it's
new.
new.
So let's say you're a big company, like Verco is a big furniture company. LA Unified, and they've built probably at least 50 new schools in the last 4 or 5 years, if not more, I'm sure, in Los Angeles. If Verco says, well, LA Unified, you're a big district, and we know you're gonna buy a lot of chairs, we're gonna give you these chairs at this low amount of money. We get to piggyback on top of that. We get to turn to Verco and say, well, we know you had this contract with LA, it's public knowledge. We want the same price. They say, okay. And we go ahead and we order the furniture new from them, but at the same price LA Unified got it for.
Is that a state law or what?
yes, it is actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we get to ride on the back of these other contracts with the bigger districts.
Okay.
Large districts will go ahead and go through the expense of bidding out because they can, they can do that. But then small districts can go ahead and piggyback on that contract. As long as it's bid in the last, I think it's like year, or I don't know if you know, if there's a time frame, we can do that. And then we work with the vendor that was part of that piggyback bid, who, in case we're working with a company called One Workplace, is part of about 25 piggyback contracts. They can show us, okay, they just give us a list, would you like this chair for this price? Yes, and it's been bid out publicly in a competitive environment. It's a great way. Almost all smaller districts purchase a lot of their
That is
furniture that way.
very interesting.
Yeah, it's smart financially for us.
Years from now, when people pass by the school, we're gonna be able to say, well, that furniture was bought by piggyback.
That's right, that's right.
It's very complicated and very creative, isn't it?
What happens to the furniture that comes from Anna Yates and
Good question.
another school?
Well, we haven't figured all that out yet. Certainly Anna Yates presents a really great financial revenue opportunity for the district, so we're still having conversations about that right now. I think, and I know there's still some contention out there in the community. Some people would like to see not all the kids come over. We are actually, I was going to mention during your presentation right here, we've gotten a bunch of calls in the last 2 weeks from parents wanting to enroll their kids because they're excited about the new project. So these are incoming parents of kindergartners who have called Anna Yates in the last 2 weeks saying, we're excited to hear about this. We are going to transfer to your district, or we're brand new and coming into kindergarten. And so the excitement is starting, now that it's becoming a reality, I think, on San Pablo, and people are seeing it, I think
I
the,
would say a number of people who know that I was involved with the district have also put me aside and said, wow.
Yeah, I wanna be part of this,
I've been
yeah.
looking on the internet and I drove by and then I looked you guys up and.
yeah, so I think the word's definitely getting further around. And so to answer your question, so certainly Anna Yates as a campus offers a great revenue generating opportunity for the district. So of course, not only are we trying to save money as we're building, but as enrollment increases and we're moving to this new facility, we're looking right now at Anna Yates as a potential revenue generator. So
I've heard from the teachers that there's some concern about not knowing who's moving where, when. And some of the teachers I know from past moves, when we've moved, for other reasons.
Yeah.
They really need some time to think through how to pack up.
Yeah.
A lot of them have been teaching many, many years, and
They have a lot of stuff. They've got a lot of stuff. We
So
got
it's-
to,
this is not like a weekend pack, this is,
Right.
months of planning.
We heard the same thing just before this holiday break. I don't know when you heard it. But, so what we did, we had and I may have missed a few of you on the email, so I'll forward it to you. We had a big community, winter community update go out to the community, to about 600 families and community members. And we included some dates in there. One is that we're gonna be moving all the high school students before May 1st into the new facility out of Santa Fe. And so that's out there. Everybody else will be moving, all the things will be moving in July. And Swinnerton is now scheduling meetings, some moving planning meetings, which will include some meetings at the schools with teachers. And that information is just
Right,
getting out to the
right,
teachers
right,
this week.
right.
So we heard the same thing, and I don't blame them, because as now that it's becoming more and more of a reality, people are wondering, well, wait, when is this happening and how is this happening? So that is being addressed right now.
That's right.
Yeah, appreciate you bringing it up. So the furniture may be okay that we have it. We may need it because hopefully we can find some interested parties and.
Well, what did you mean, or Julie trying to ask you?
What are you gonna do with Anna Gates? You said we're bringing revenue, are you renting it?
Well,
or-
we've had some interest from districts and other organizations who have said, hey, because they've heard about the project and they've got their own construction. We know Oakland Unified has
Right.
more construction coming and they need swing space. We know that another district close by is looking for swing space. And so there are schools that, I think we rented this facility to Piedmont years ago.
Unified rented
for
the
$500,000
school
a year.
for 2 years,
For
I think.
years.
Yeah.
was
Why they
all
did
out
construction.
there.
So, word is out there, so I think that it's a good opportunity for us.
It's a good opportunity too to do something for young people, so since we have a building,
Mhm.
we should think about something to engage them, in the neighborhood, because we have nothing, a community center, nothing
Mhm.
for them. But you want them to stay out of trouble, you want them to, so
Yeah.
we have to put something out there. And
Mhm.
Anna Yates, we just remodeled it not too long ago.
Well, it's part of
Spent
it.
that money.
Yeah, part of it was remodeled. It was the main building actually is falling apart, to be honest with you. The plumbing, we're having to stop pipes and so the main building is
Yeah,
not
the
quite up
other
to
two.
stuff. It's that, yeah.
Everything outside is
Yeah,
new.
yeah.
I mean, I think the original thinking was to create a park-like area that the community could use, and to look at opportunities to bring in educational partners that could serve both the community and the school district. So that, if we have groups like some of the PE organizations that run special PE programs, and around the country, there's a wide range of groups that do that,
Or a training program.
Girls and Boys Clubs, or there are many, many groups that in the past have, not the Boys and Girls Club, but other groups who've worked with Emory kids, and we could basically trade space for programs and serve the community better, and get some income. But I understand that it's very attractive. We've benefited from renting from other schools. It's very attractive for them to now rent from us and for us to get our money back. That's all good, but I would encourage looking at who are our partners. At one point, we were talking to MoCA. There's other groups that can benefit, so that we're working with Kids Zero.
Yeah.
The original concept was from cradle to grave,
Yeah.
that through cradle to cradle,
Right.
that throughout people's lifetime, we have partner organizations. And AB 1200 allows us to partner with groups without having to give priority to a charter school. We can just partner with the groups that are serving our kids, because it's part of our educational mission.
Well, we're addressing the senior center for our seniors, and we're addressing our K through 12,
Yeah.
whatever. you have this other group of kids out here that's from 18, 24, or whatever, that need some guidance and need something in the neighborhood, so when are we gonna talk about that? We talk about bike
Well,
paths.
a lot of that
everything.
is taken care of, I mean, a lot of that was thought through with ECCL, like putting in the pool and the gym and, you know, having sort of upgraded, you know, making the field open, so that there's activities, and having the rec center there so that.
The rec center is for children, it's not for teenagers.
But you're talking about an age span that
Yeah, but those
unfortunately
kids-
is not, it's very important, but it's unfortunately not part of the work a school district does. It is the work other organizations do, right?
Right, your kids are
Yeah.
17 and 16 coming
Yeah.
out of Emory
Yeah,
that will be graduating. A
right.
lot of kids are not in school or don't have anything. A lot of guys can cut hair,
Mhm.
but they don't have the license to do it.
Right.
A lot of girls can do a lot of things.
Sure.
Oh, that's
We
an
have to
interesting
engage
idea.
them in
Yeah.
something also.
Mhm. Yeah, and it'd be interesting, you know, if we could find, because one thing we want to also do, and this is part of the concept of ECCL, is we want to open up the facility in the evening for organizations who want to do job training. Their organization, and we're not looking to gouge anybody. If you want to use our facility, a small amount of rent, and come in and have these programs for young adults, right? So I think it's a good opportunity for the community in that way.
And if you're having people volunteering, like we do in Beal and other organizations, then where will they get the money to pay to, you know, maybe have a couple hours to mentor or help with homework or
When there's a lot of
Just
those
personal.
organizations that are already funded to do those things, and they just need a place.
They don't have a place, right? So
Yeah,
this could be a
right,
place
that's
in
what
the
I'm saying.
evening.
Especially
Right.
with rents going up in the Bay
Yeah.
Area, a lot of the groups that do things like homework training, they're being priced out.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
we are, I should just announce very quickly, since you brought up the hair cutting and small business development, so we're starting to do that on the ground floor of the California Hotel. So we're putting together a program, and I'll send you information about it, so that
Wonderful.
I think on the first Friday of every month, we're going to be opening up the ground floor as a small business fair for people who like doing things like cutting hair and stuff like that, but want to turn it into a business.
Right, because everybody's not college.
Exactly.
So if we can reach these kids and you give them something to do, you have less break-ins, because you're getting ready to have a lot of people coming in.
Yeah.
Run with the high
K-13,
What's that?
K-13,
Hey,
that's I'm giving you a name for it.
hey, yeah.
K-13.
There
That's
you
a
go.
great idea.
Hey, there you go.
So
Very
we're-
much easier.
I'll send you more information.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. Let's just finish the.
So anyway, just to finish, just one more last thing, so we're now starting to move into also planning, there are two things the JOA requires, is a capital replacement reserve, dollars for over a 50-year period or 40-year period for maintenance, and also annual maintenance. So those two funds are identified, what the amounts are, so we're starting to plan those sorts of things. So again, as we move forward, we're looking at, you know, move-in, operation, maintenance, kind of, and closing out the construction. So this is the stuff that's being worked on from a plan standpoint right now. Okay, so that is all I've got for this COC meeting.
Fantastic, thank you. So, community benefits, I'm gonna update, we did get the email you sent out after the last meeting. Is there any update as far as Turner interns?
So there's one intern that's working this semester for Turner, and then they have the requirement of one additional one. So there's one more, and they're looking for someone for next summer to do project closeout. And so they're working with, I apologize, I forget the name of one of the teachers that does the internship kind of career development program, and that's the person that Turner's community outreach person is working with them to identify one or more interns to work next summer.
So it's not an application process, it's you
I
choosing someone? and they-
I actually don't, I believe there's an application process, but they had one last year, they have one starting this semester, and they're looking for one for the summer.
At what point are the kids gonna come over and see the building?
We could do a tour anytime, really. We've had all the teachers through, we did a lot of tours, when things were kind of framed up, but we haven't had done a tour in a little while. We have a tour, artist tour, the city's art program. We have a tour of artists the week after next. But we've not done a tour of the kids in a while. The kids, we've had some of the basketball players in the gym. We've done that, but we haven't done a tour of the other buildings. But we can certainly
When
do
can the
it.
high school start scheduling sports events then?
Yeah, well, they were supposed to start this week actually,
Okay.
and the rain has gotten in our way. But week after next, we told them today, January 15th is when they're the week, that third week, week of the 18th is when they can start scheduling stuff there.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, and then, so right now, we have January 15th, January 18th is when they can start scheduling. And that's just exclusively to students that participate in
Well,
sports
the
through the school.
priority right now is school athletic programs, specifically volleyball and basketball, mostly basketball. That's the big, because it's basketball season now. Volleyball and basketball. We're working, we do these program meetings with the city's recreation director, Pedro Jimenez, about how to share that gym use. Like I said, there's certain facilities, the more or less although it's a joint use facility, the city will be really using the pool more and the school, the gym more. But they're both going to be crossing over and using both facilities. But in general, most of the use that we've seen in our program meetings is the gym, is the school athletic programs.
And the gym is supposed to open officially on what date?
So the week of the 18th, that's what we're telling them right
So
now.
the week of the 18th, it'll open and people can schedule, or the
Yeah,
students can schedule?
Right,
Okay.
so the scheduling's done through the athletic department and also the city recreation department.
Cool. And then the first scheduled event for the pool will be the triathlon in April?
Yeah, right, exactly.
And before that, there's no use before that triathlon, right?
Well, right now, the completion date, and we're actually, even with the weather, we're still okay on the schedule, is end of February.
Okay.
February 27th is the contract date. Now, if it rains a lot, we could run into some problems with that date, but that's the current date. And so far, we're on schedule, we just have 2 more months to go.
Mhm.
Good. At some point, can the school publicize when the games will be, so members of the public?
Oh, that's a
can
great, yeah,
watch the
absolutely,
games
absolutely, yes.
And cheer the Spartans on?
Yeah, definitely. I'll make a note right now, make sure we do that. That was on my mind recently, I'm glad you brought it up, thank you.
Any last comments on the pool or the gym timeline before we move on to financial summary? Okay, take it away, Toby.
Okay, I don't know if you want a hard copy. This is the current financial report. It shows that so far year-to-date, spent $16 million of the bond for a grand total since inception of $52.1 million. And since the last report, it was about $7 million for November and December. Also attached to this report is the list of the checks that were issued. And one thing I wanted to point out is on page 2 in this, it's the third page, but it's marked page 2, under the column fund dash object. This report, if a check is paying multiple invoices that come from different funding sources, the check itself, the whole check is shown on this report. This report won't separate out I run it for Fund 210, but it won't separate out if the whole check included other funds. It shows those. So where it's circled on the page, the PG&E bill, for example, the 210-5522, the 2452 went against the bond, but the other two that are Fund 010, electrical service of the district office, gas service of the district office, those two were on that check, but they were not charged to the bond. They were charged to the general fund. I just wanted to point that out.
But do you have a way to generate reports that adjust the bond?
I did run this report for Fund 210, but unfortunately, the system, since the check was for the total, it includes the whole check. This is a check register report.
So I think that's fine for our purposes, but in terms of having a clear sort of end of project report or maybe quarterly reports for the community, it would be helpful to have it's just more transparent to be able to see what are the project expenses.
Sure, well, I have in the last meeting, Miguel brought up creating a different format that was a little easier to try to follow.
That's
because
right.
so much of the detail here.
Right.
And I do have a draft. I wasn't able to distribute this
Oh, great.
before for discussion, but basically he suggested breaking down the expenses by object code, which is the type of expense
Oh, this is great.
within the different options. Now, the top page is a collapsed version of the bottom.
Mhm.
So the bottom is just a list of all of the expenses so far this fiscal year. That's how I created this. And I can make this to be cumulative for the current fiscal year, cumulative for the project, or just for the period that we're covering.
This is exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay,
Thank you. This is great.
okay. So, is there a preference? Do you,
Give Calvin a
Yeah,
question.
sure. Is there a preference for the period that I represent? Is there a preference for inception to date, or for the period, the current fiscal year to date, cumulative, or just the period since the last report?
I think that this should reflect the period from the last report,
Okay,
because that's also what members are asking for when we send out our agendas and meetings, a detailed report of what has been spent since our last meeting.
okay,
So I think that for moving forward, it could just be for the time from the last meeting, and then in the event that we do want something, and if anyone else has a different opinion, want something longer term or cumulative, then we can just request it.
okay.
Well, I think our next meeting is in March,
Mhm.
so we'll almost be at the end of the project.
Right.
So it might be good to do a cumulative for March so that we could do one, to the extent that this degree of data might not have been this easy to understand.
Mhm.
Give us a chance to catch anything that we want to clean up before the end, or fix or adjust, just to make sure that it's all, we want to get it perfect.
Yeah.
We've put so much time and effort into this, I want to make sure everything is done right.
Sure.
And so I think doing one cumulative run and then, everything after that.
Okay.
That's this,
I have all the data, it's already in my database, it's just
Mhm.
what period of time do you want to cover? So,
yeah.
when I present the report, do you want the detail at the back as well, or just the cover?
Oh, I was thinking, again, let's
If
get a
okay.
run of the detail, and it just allows us to we've been looking with a fine tooth comb at this thing for years, but this will give us sort of one last, just before it's almost done, and before it's closed out.
Okay,
So if anything needs to be, if we need to catch anything that we might have missed, it just allows us to double check everything.
mhm.
Do you have a
Okay,
2016 calendar?
Would you like me to send this out to everybody that's on the committee for their comment?
We'll need to spend some time on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I can do that like next week, so they
Okay.
can, maybe give some comment before March, before I
Yeah.
prepare the next report.
Yeah. So I'll just go ahead and make a note that you're gonna be sending that out,
Mhm.
hopefully by the end of
I'll send
next week.
it, I'll send it Monday.
Okay.
Mhm. So I just want to clarify, this is in lieu of the entire package that you're currently getting, correct? So no check warrants, and no reports that come from the system that are kind of difficult to read.
Well, what information in the check warrants
It's all the same except you want a check number, right?
Well, that's correct. I could include a check number if need be. Actually, the warrant is on this page. It is, the warrant is
Oh,
there.
so it's all, it's basically the same information.
It's just really.
It's just the same
it's easier to
information
read, yeah.
reformatted.
Yeah,
I think it's just a better format,
Mhm.
and, I mean, it's the same information we've been looking at for 2 years,
Mhm.
but it's easier format.
Okay. Sure.
Awesome.
I will
Thank
send
you.
it out for comment and then prepare inception to date for the next meeting.
Yes.
Okay?
And that can, the inception to date, wait, that would be the cumulative report. that
The
you're sending out.
cumulative from inception as opposed to cumulative for this fiscal year.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it'll
for the
be
next
about 20
meeting.
pages, right?
No, well, maybe 10. Then the other item that was on from the minutes from last meeting.
Oh, for the van expenses or the potential?
Oh, yeah, I have the backup for that.
Yeah, that also happens to be the tabled, the second
Right.
tabled item G. It's
Are
the
you
same
guys, are you
thing.
ready for that one?
Yeah, just go ahead.
Okay, so, this is, and I have this to share with you to glance at it if you like. On our, the background on this is that as I was coming into the district, we had realized that, or the district had just realized, as some new papers were coming out on this, that some two of the old vans, passenger vans the district were using were actually technically buses.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody had over the years, about years ago, ripped out the back seat, the last row, and tried to make them legal by doing so. Well, and our insurance company, Keenan, sent a paper out to all their districts saying, by the way, here's a big reminder, federal law does not allow you to have anything more than a 10-passenger van when you're carting around students. So we had to make a decision right away to not, to figure out how we're going to move forward and help move around our students for sport events and different things like we have been funding, like gym rentals and other things, but how are we going to do that and not break the law? So we had some expenses for several months for rental vehicles so that we can keep moving the basketball team around and the football team. And we were changing credit cards, so I had to put the charges 1 month on my credit card.
Okay.
You can glance at it if you like.
A likely story.
A likely story. Yeah, a likely story. And actually, as it turns out, as we were moving from our American Express card, I think, to this Visa, this bank, this local community bank, suddenly we found ourselves in a position where the bill was due and we didn't want to incur late charges, and somebody said, oh my gosh, we need to get a check written. I said, all right, let me write a check, and the district paid me back. So it's not an ideal accounting practice. I'm not very fond of that, but it has happened once or twice here. So, but that is the $3,600 or $3,700 for van rentals, and I believe, unfortunately, as Toby was just pointing out on the escape on the report that the county uses, it showed the total bill, the
Yeah.
total credit card bill, which included other charges that were district charges, but Doris Sue assured me today that the bond money was only used for the $3,600 worth of van charges. So it was very legitimate, and I'm glad you asked the question because I didn't recall what it was when I saw it.
Well,
There's no Hawaii vacation, unfortunately.
because Shirley asked the question.
Did she ask the question? Hey. Yeah. So it was.
Is that your answer?
Yeah, that's the detail for you.
Glad the kids got to know Neil.
They did, and in fact, what we did, is we, in the meantime, when we moved forward on the fact of purchasing some new legal vehicles, which is way overdue for us for the kids in the district. So now we have some vehicles that are not buses. I mean, these old white vans. Actually, in fact, if you looked on the door panel, it said bus. So that requires a special license, insurance, highway patrol yearly inspections. We weren't doing any of that. I thought, oh my gosh.
Is the district going to sell them?
No one brought. It was just an issue we noticed, and we wanted to correct it
So,
ourselves.
but are we going to sell the?
Oh, sell.
buses?
We already have. Yeah. I thought you said settle. I'm sorry.
So you said the 36 and some odd $100 came from the what measure? These?
That did come from bond money, as
That
we
came from
so we've been paying. We have been for quite some time during the transition of having the kids temporarily housed at the Santa Fe site, we have had to pay expenses for gym rental fees and transportation to sporting events. So, as you know, certainly we won't have those once we're not in the same way once we're in the new facility.
Right, and then the difference from the $5,831.14, the difference came from what again?
Other charges. So I have they're actually in front of you.
Right here,
Right, but those actually aren't, none of those charges, that's my normal things that
So-
I'm having
And
to
you
do.
just wrote the check for that amount.
the check was for the total. but
Right.
The piece that came from the bond was just the 3,600.
Okay.
Right.
Cool. I don't know if anyone else needs.
You can look, you can glance at it if you like.
Anyone else wanna see this? No?
Yeah, but thank you for asking, because I couldn't
Nice.
recall.
Very, I mean, this has happened occasionally over the years that, you know, an administrator has to use their personal credit card to make sure the kids don't get stranded or stuck outside or miss a game or, you know, and I thank you for doing that. It's not the best of things, but it's also, I'd much rather not have kids suffer because of bureaucratic
Yeah.
problems.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
So I'm just gonna add that in the minutes for next. Were you done? Toby?
Unless there's any questions.
Anyone have any questions on the financial report? Here, Robbie. This is when Miguel asked at the last meeting to come up with a more simplified version of what we normally get for the expense report. Toby drafted this, so she will be sending out a cumulative financial rundown like this by next Monday, and then from this month
It's great.
until March.
Thank you.
It's the advantage
With
of
our-
having an accountant on the
Yeah,
board.
with our next meeting. Okay, so the next item is the joint PTA and COC meeting and tour of project site, which was a suggestion of yours at the last meeting. So we already covered a lot of like really great ideas as far as involving the community with the new project site. But the question is, how feasibly are we gonna do this? Or can you and the school board do this? Or like community engagement with the parents or the PTO or whatever parent organization you have, can they potentially either have a joint meeting with us, sit in on our meeting? What's the average number of people that you get in attendance? And then we can go over community timelines, other options for the facilities as far as community use beyond the sports teams and triathlon that are already scheduled. And
I would suggest the joint meeting's premature.
Well, do you think so? You
Oh,
think-
go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I have an idea. I mean, if you guys are flexible on the date, you know, we could check with the principal at Annie Yates, because she has an ongoing parent group that does meet, I believe it might be one Tuesday evening a month, I think. So they have a parent-teacher organization that's active. And so, we could work, Jerry, you and I could work on figuring out what that date is and push it out and see if because I don't think they would mind. I think they'd be excited to come over. I think it could be all right. It could be a good idea and it could be part of our meeting and their meeting, or however we want to do it, and, you know,
It wouldn't hurt.
it wouldn't hurt, right?
And then by March, if we did have a meeting on site, we could potentially do that in the new gym and have a tour of what exactly?
So on the tour, one thing to think about is that the problem is this time of year. The problem is it's dark early. So we do all of our tours. We typically schedule for 3:30 in the afternoon, because that's when the construction crews kind of end, but it's still light outside. The other thing, I mean, if we did a tour or site walk, then you could see all the buildings, not just the gym too, because there's no lights in the other buildings, so you can't see anything. So I'd be happy to do that anytime that the COC or members would like to do a tour. We can certainly have our March meeting in the gym building. By that point, we might be able to have it in the high school or building A. We can do it in any of those buildings. The easiest is probably the gym, because we'll have furniture and, you know, and heat and light in there, although we have light in the other two.
And here's an idea, what we could do is we could do the meeting in the gym, have enough chairs so everyone can sit and some tables. And we could actually do a mini tour, we could just have the option of, part of the agenda, seeing the high school building and walking into that probably.
But I think it would be a good idea, I think it would be a good idea to do the tour first, because it'll be, March is a little lighter, so it probably it might be, but it's still, I think it started at like 7. So it might be better to do a tour, if people would like to do a tour, maybe at 5 o'clock, and have our meeting at 6 or something like that. You probably, by that time, you're probably 5:30, you can do a tour, a tour. Then you can see the whole site and everything. It's much more interesting than just going inside the
It won't be
gym.
too dark, okay, all right.
I don't think so. I mean, the pool should be done, if the weather permitted the pool, there's a lot of things that will be done. But I would suggest we do a tour first, for those who'd like to do so, and have our meeting afterwards in the gym. That, I think, is a better
Okay,
plan.
well then maybe you should be doing work with Andrea.
Oh, sure, sure,
Okay,
sure.
cool, that sounds good,
Okay.
sounds great.
And then as far as getting people involved, do you have anything that, I don't know, like Spartan swag or something that could get parents more interested in coming to get their kids something, or, because what's your turnout usually at PTAs? Or
Well, it's
PTs?
not mine, it's the principal at MEA's. I think they have a pretty good, it's a small group, but it's not a bad size. I believe that they have about 12 to 15 people. Now, she has a bigger group, I think, Wednesday mornings, once a month. Like this morning, I think she had her coffee with the principal, which she does regularly now. But I think they have an active PTO group, and so I think we'd get some interest naturally just from the site being new and the first opportunity to have a meeting there. So I think we could blast it out to all the parents if you like, and just say, hey, we're going to have a meeting, but there's a tour, and they can leave or stay for the meeting as they choose. But maybe we'll get some of them to stay. Some food probably would help.
I was just about to say.
Yeah.
What budget would that come out of? School district budget?
Now that's an interesting question. I don't know. Let me give that one some thought, but we should be able to figure something out.
Yeah.
I was there before I got here. I thought it was going to be here.
Oh, okay.
I drove past the
we
site.
started talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I drove past there, but this afternoon when I had a meeting over the rec center. Boy, it looks impressive in the daylight. It looks very impressive on San Pablo. And,
Especially San Pablo, because you can see all 3 buildings now. It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
You can see how it's massed.
some people were wondering, gee, who chose those colors?
Well, yeah, we're working on that.
Funny that you mentioned that.
We are working on it.
We're looking at maybe changing the green color, the light green color, because it's not quite what people had anticipated. So we're going to look at some options. But paint is inexpensive, and we're trying to get the colors right now before we paint all the other buildings.
Okay. So, as over the operational lifetime of this building, then you can change the colors of the paint. Paint changes colors.
Alrighty.
I'm desperate to know the date of the March meeting, because I'm going to be out of town from the 13th to the 20th, and I don't like to miss a meeting.
We commonly do them the 3rd Wednesday of the month. Is that when the dates that you're out?
But we probably,
We can change it.
if we're going to coincide with the parent organization,
Oh,
we need
that's-
to check.
that's-
We need to
that's
check.
different.
Yeah,
our
we're,
meetings,
so that'll probably,
You might get lucky.
yeah, we'll figure that out. Like, this was the only change, we had it at the beginning of the month, because
Right.
people said last month that they
Right.
would come if we moved it to the first Wednesday of the month,
And it doesn't
which,
rain.
yeah. So, okay, awesome.
It's getting exciting, and I knew it would mobilize the whole community behind this
Yeah.
terrific project.
Yeah. Okay.
And then going back to, what you two were both saying about leasing the space potentially to other groups that could provide services to the older set of kids or young adult kids, how would they go about leasing that space? Would they be talking to you or the school district or the city or?
It's school district property. They'll be talking directly to the school
He
district.
stops at 12. We're talking about K-13.
But there's nothing really set as far as like rental costs or anything right now, right?
There's not right now. There has been, in between Piedmont renting here and us paying Oakland, we had some, when it's districts involved, we've had kind of a range that we're familiar with the local districts, but no, nothing set. And again, I'm still having conversations. I need to figure some more of this out, but I'll certainly let you know as soon as I know more.
Okay. So moving on to annual report, that will be due March 2016, and I'm aiming to get that in as close to that date as possible. So I will be using last year's annual report as a template, so I will not have to construct this all on my own from the beginning. So I will need help from people. So if you are able to, once I start to get moving on it, if you're able to proofread the draft or anything like that, then
We had talked in the previous meetings about bringing in some help because it's been a great burden for our volunteer
right.
chairs to do these reports, and
So I guess leaving, after that conversation, I guess we had an issue of who was gonna pay for that, number one. And then also because Tom did all the work for the last annual report and has sent me the draft that he used, and a lot of it is just me plugging it in. Because since it's towards the end of the project, a lot of the information hasn't changed too drastically.
so it might not be that difficult.
So I don't think it will be that difficult, and as long as I'm not doing it alone, I don't think it'll be that difficult.
Okay.
If I have assistance from the other members, then it should be fine.
Right. Can check into it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Thank you for doing that.
No problem.
It's really a service to the
Oh, yeah,
community.
absolutely.
Don't thank me yet. We'll see how much I get done first.
But I mean, you and all the other past chairs have done a real service being independent
Yeah.
reviewers. And the work is as good as anything that San Francisco or Berkeley puts out with much, much larger budgets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very true. And it looks like one of our last items, the COC vacancy. So we have 2 open seats as well as 2 student seats. Are there any updates as far as student seats?
No, there's no updates. Sorry, nothing new on the student situation. And I did want to ask a question. I know that so many of you and other current members and previous members have put a lot of time into this committee. I think that the community and the district really appreciates that. I'm just wondering, I know we have some members who are still occupying a seat but who don't come.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's something in the bylaws for the group referring to, vacating that position or opening it up. So I'm just wondering, again, on all due respect to the other members, but I think that we might want to consider that we have 3 open seats instead of 2. So, and I don't know I don't recall what the process is that we use for trying to fill those. If you want us to, if you'd like the district to push out some information to the community, which we can do, we have new up-to-date emails for the parents to help. But I just wanted to bring up this issue of this potential 3rd open seat, I think.
Josh, do you ever get an opportunity to check in with Mitch and see if he's ever coming back, or?
I haven't been
Okay.
able to connect with him, but I'll try to call him.
Okay.
But I wanted to point out that the state, there's 7 positions that the state requires
Mhm.
on COCs that have to be filled by people with certain qualifications. So I think what we need to do is to map the qualifications that are required and the qualifications that were required by the school board.
Right.
So we specifically have to have a member
Oh, that's
of
what, not just
the
open.
community,
That's
it's
right.
not at large.
Right.
It has to be a parent, it has to be a
Business owner.
business owner, a representative. I personally am a representative of a taxpayer association, as a taxpayer in Emeryville, and a property owner in Emeryville. And, each one of us fills a different role. So we don't just outreach to the world because the world isn't all eligible.
Right.
So to the extent we have a parent
Oh, that's
position
right, that's right.
open,
Right, right.
we have to outreach intensively to the parents. And I think that was part of the thinking in doing a joint
Right.
thing with the PTO, is to say, we have this committee, we'd like one of you to come
Mhm.
join it. That's the way that's the way we've gotten recruits in the past.
Okay.
To the extent we need a business person, I don't know if there's still a business association in town, but if there is, we go to the business association and say, you know, this is what we're doing, this is what we've done, here's our past reports. We'd like one of you to join us. So I think being proactive in a more strategic and focused way, so we're recruiting who we need, and we don't get a bunch of applications from people who quite frankly aren't eligible,
Right.
and we don't want to waste anybody's time.
Rodney and I submitted corrections to how we were identified, tallying
Yeah.
the.
I think almost everyone was misidentified, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think
Mm.
no one had the appropriate title to what their
So
role
there's been
is
staff
to-
change in the district, so I understand that. I think we just need to, you know, now's a good time, we've got a new chair. Let's just go through and identify everybody correctly.
We have very clear bylaws. I didn't bring them with me.
We have very clear bylaws that have been hashed out over a year period. And then amended by the school district based on the experience of the first year. So I think we've got all the bones.
Okay.
So I would just ask, let's be strategic and clear about who the openings are eligible for,
I also think that on the
according to the state
application,
requirements.
yeah, on the application, it lists each role already, so if we can get a hold of the application, which I'm sure Lisa has,
Okay.
we can figure out who fills what,
Mhm.
and then list the 2 to 3 open opportunities, and you can blast that instead.
Okay. I'll ask Lisa, what I'll do is I'll ask Lisa then if she can go ahead and give that to me for us to send out.
But she should probably also communicate with each of us, because each
Yes,
of
sure.
make
us,
sure
Make
that,
sure we have the rules
yeah, because
correct.
I
Our
think that
role
was a
might have
parent
changed.
representative, and I don't
Alright.
have kids, so
Okay.
that was grossly inaccurate.
but you could be an alumni.
Yeah, I am, I'm the alumni
Exactly.
member, so.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
That was one of the,
So, no, I think that's the point. And then people's positions change.
Got it. All right, I'll do that.
John,
I'll ask Lisa.
have you talked to to citizens or parents over the holidays about seeing, seeing the momentum building for, when can they occupy, when are they gonna move and all that kind of thing that, parents are, they're feeling like they wanna lend a hand or anything like that?
Well, what we were saying, and just, you had just missed it in the beginning, meaning we've got parents we're getting phone calls now at MEAs, people are getting excited. They're calling and saying, I want to enroll my child, I see you're building a new site. So we are getting that, and we sent a large community update out. I'll go ahead and forward it to you guys so you can see that with the winter community update that we did on the dates for ECCL. It included lots of different programs for the district, but it included dates for ECCL and some updates to the project. So we have gotten some, yeah.
and then somewhat, are you the Ken that sent the email about having an application also for the COC?
Yeah, I did.
So I think if you have it, you can give it to John, and he can give it
I
to
think he
Lisa.
meant for the board.
Oh, for the board, not the COC?
Well, I wanted an application from the COC, I didn't get it, but I can get it. I did apply for the board, yes.
Oh, okay. So, if you wanna follow up with Lisa
Okay.
Emery to
Okay,
get the,
so we're gonna ask Lisa to make sure, she's gonna confirm with you first
what our specific role.
what your specific
Is-
roles are, so we know which one it opens.
Mhm.
If Ken would like to apply for one of those, he can apply for one of those if he fits the
Yeah,
role.
if it should fit.
And then we can blast out, after we confirm with all of you, we'll blast out what the open roles are.
Yeah, and then she should also, I'm pretty sure she would anyway, but she can also send out what the roles are, so we don't just have to guess
Yeah.
what our
Yeah.
actual role is.
Got it. That's what I meant, so yeah, fine.
Okay.
All right.
And that was pretty much it. Did
All
anyone have any other questions, concerns, one they want to bring up?
Madam Chair, there's something you can do when you send out your announcement.
Mhm.
that the meeting is coming up, please just emphasize, get back to us and let us know if you're coming or not.
That was the one thing I didn't do at this session, because at the end of the last one, this was the unanimous date that everyone could attend, so. But yeah, I will, because we couldn't pass any of the minutes that I slaved over to. Oh, and then, yeah,
Question with Miguel on, is still 3 openings? With
we're
Miguel on
talking
the board?
about if Mitch is still actually a member, so with him off.
I think
off
he's missed
the
enough
committee,
meetings.
I
that
think
he's not
technically it's probably not
disqualified.
anymore.
that would be the
Absolutely.
third space that would technically be open.
Yeah,
But Miguel is on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, Miguel's only missed one
Right,
meeting, and I think he had a good reason for it
yeah,
tonight.
he does,
Yeah,
he's,
yeah.
Okay. And then, so we will, John Baker, we will not be doing the tour of the gym and dance studio after today, correct?
Yeah, well, it's, if you want to go through the dark and the mud, that we can do that, but probably not a good idea. So I think it's a good idea, is let's plan, the main thing is the time, it's just in the dark, it's hard to
Yeah.
do, but the main thing is the time, if we can do it early, in March, and by then it'll be light a little later, do a tour, and then have a meeting after that makes more sense to me.
And I did get a message, by the way, while we're talking, that says, every second Tuesday evening at 5:30 p.m. is when the NEH PTO meets. So,
Second Tuesday.
the second Tuesday, so what would that be? Does that work out for you?
I tore up my
Second
2015
Tuesday,
calendar.
second Tuesday of every month.
Of every month?
So that would be the 13th, that would be the.
March 8th?
That would be the 8th.
Is that during your vacation? March 8th, are you still here?
Tuesdays, I would not be here.
No, you wouldn't be on vacation.
13th to the 20th.
13th through the 20th.
I'll be there.
But
But if you want to
I suppose
combine,
I
can you make one Tuesday?
No, I suppose I could. So we would be doing the joint PTA meeting instead of a COC meeting, a single COC meeting. Is that what everyone would prefer, a joint PTA and COC where we could raise some of the same issues? John can go over a construction update so the
We need
parents
that.
know.
Oh, that'd be good,
We
yeah.
need that.
Sure.
And then
Yeah.
we would just maybe skip some of the line items,
Mhm.
like, we could obviously talk about the vacancies. We have a few tabled items for the next meeting, which we could potentially do at the very end, because they're not, super important. And then they'd also would get, an update on the intern opportunities, the timeline for the pool, and they could also, if you do bring this style of draft for the next one and some printouts, they can get, the information as far as the financials.
Also, Andrew, just one heads up, on the March 16th and 17th, those evenings, I'm gonna be, I've got a conflict doing, I'm doing a training thing.
Good.
Okay,
So,
on St. Patty's Day?
yeah, so
Really,
you know,
John?
it's absolutely true, I'm not.
Okay.
Well, what about the
the
March 8th? Are you available March 8th?
Yeah, March 8th is fine.
Oh, yeah, okay.
What's the location of this joint meeting gonna be?
So,
Yes.
if
PCCO.
March 8th, which is a Tuesday, is
Sure.
okay for everyone
Right,
right
right,
now,
Good, that
the
sounds good.
location would technically be in the gym with a tour of the site beforehand.
Right.
So let's say the meeting would start at about, the tour would start at 5.
I like that idea, 5 and the meeting
The
at 6.
meeting could potentially
That sounds
start
good.
at 6.
It
And then
sounds
we would
dark
have
at
food
5.
so people
No, not, in
can
March it won't be dark at
Come.
5.
eat.
Yeah.
Would that be okay for the gym though, the new gym that we're having
Oh.
food in there?
Can we put something down after? We should-
Yeah, well, the thing is also, like, that is still basketball season, they may be doing practice that night, but we have we have the fitness room, we have other rooms.
Well, we could
can meet in.
schedule, we could probably schedule
Right.
around the practice, but I mean, she's asking about the floor. Is it okay to have food?
Yeah,
I think
if
we're-
we brought food in, would that be okay, or
I
is
don't
there-
see why it's up to it's your
Yeah,
facility, you
yeah.
can say how do you want to use it, I don't think there's a problem.
Just have to work with janitorial.
yeah, and make sure they clean up.
Yeah, and then a way to fund the food could
Well,
probably be
the PTO
PTA,
actually,
yeah.
they actually feed their members, so
Yeah,
maybe we
so
can
we
work
could
that
just-
out.
Plus, there's a
Piggyback
little,
on that.
there's a little concessions, there's a little, almost like a catering kitchen in the gym, they could set up, and we could do that too.
Yeah, then they
That
can
would be
see the
done by then.
space in full effect.
Yeah. It's
Nice.
a concession stand, but you could use it for
Yeah.
food,
For
certainly,
concessions.
Cool.
for concession, right.
So March 8th, Lisa will send a day before reminder. I will also email the rest of the members and see if they're going to attend. Tour at 5 p.m., meeting at 6 p.m. PTA will, or could potentially provide food in the catering area. And John Rubio can send an introductory email perhaps to me, John Baker, you, and the principal of Yates, because I'm not sure if I know her.
Yeah, and actually, I'll CC the principal, but it's actually, I'm just realizing, I'll introduce you to Diane Mack, who's the PTO president.
Okay, awesome, and then also include her in the
Yeah.
meeting, and then she can, create some agenda items that she sees important that could go, and we could have one cohesive meeting. And with that, we're adjourned.
Well done.
Cool,
Good meeting.
that was a good one.
Yeah.
Wow.
I guess we'll approve the November